Good morning, everybody. It's Andrea here at VW Family Farm. I am heading out to do the chores and just wanted to share a couple things with you guys as I go. If you are new around here, we are a farm in Central Arkansas. We started our farm/homestead on a small acreage. We grew slowly over time until eventually we started farming on some family trust land that Ben is a beneficiary of, and just grown from there. Now we have a rather large cattle operation, hog operation. We raise egg layers and meat chickens on definitely a small scale compared to people who do that, you know, commercially in chicken houses and things. So some of our most asked questions here on our farm are about pigs and respiratory diseases, because either when people reach out to us, either they have a sick pig they're afraid they're about to lose, they've lost a pig, or they're noticing strange symptoms and they don't know what to do. So this video, I'm gonna address all those things. This is definitely not a vet perspective or vet advice, so always seek out your local vet. But if you are like us and you're in an area that there's just not many hog vets, because each individual animal has its own list of things. That's why you'll find small animal vets, large animal vets. They specialize in those things. And when we've had problems in the past, we figured out we're not in an area where there's a lot of pig vets. So we've learned by researching and by doing, by trying, by failing. And so I'm here to share some of that with you guys. So you can see those pretty Berkshire hogs. Two of those are females. One is our breeder boar. Those females should be having their first litters, farrowing in the next probably month. Really excited about that. So it's funny that this video is about respiratory problems in pigs, and I have recently had some myself. Sometimes I have a habit of pushing myself too far, don't know when to say no, and you will just get to a point your body will say no for you. Your body will start to you won't feel good, and your body will just say, that's enough here. You're going to rest. Either you're going to, or I'm going to make you do it. And so that's where I've been, if you're wondering what the thumbnail and things are about. But this is not all about me, but just want you to know I am doing good. I'm better, but breathing problems, guys, are no joke, and it's no joke in your pigs either. So just want to give you guys some vital information today. One of the most common things you need to look for if you're raising pigs is if they don't come up to eat. That's your first sign. When a pig gets a temperature, and a normal body temperature for a pig is like 101.5 to, some say 103.5. A lot of things say 102.5, but just in that range. If you have a pig that gets like up to 105, you've got a fever on your hands, and that's their rectal temperature. I would just encourage you to get like a children's thermometer and keep that on hand just for your animals, obviously. And the first thing is try to take their temperature. If they're pretty lethargic and feel pretty bad, it probably actually won't be that hard. If you cannot take their temperature, but you know that something is wrong, you can probably safely assume that they do have a temperature if they are lethargic and not eating. Now, we count our pigs every day. That's another thing I want to say, is we make sure every pig comes up to eat every single day, because you want to catch these things early. So we are out here out front in our weaning piglet pen, and we have a lot of piglets out here at the moment. So we try to be very transparent here on our farm. There are many people out there that are against wormers. They're against what they call chemical wormers. They use more of what they call a natural wormer. We have not found success. I'm just going to be completely transparent with you guys, using natural methods. And I've also heard people say that, you know, if you get certain bloodlines and things, that they are not susceptible or as susceptible to parasites. I don't personally know if that's a fact or not. And I'm definitely not saying that's not true, but we raise a lot of pigs here. So they are on some of the same pastures. Like this pen right here is pretty large. It has been sitting idle for a while now, but the fact there was pigs on here before, you are gonna have some parasites on your land unless you can rotationally graze your pigs and keep them off of it for a set amount of time and all those things. And just the fact is, most people don't do that, aren't able to keep them off a plot of land for a certain amount of time. Again, everything I'm saying in this video is simply my opinion and based on our experience. And you know, I mentioned that you can't usually keep a pig off of a plot of land long enough to outlast the worms, and specifically what I'm talking about that we mainly deal with is lungworms. Those are actually transmitted through earthworms. So their life cycle is about 18 months. So you see what I'm saying, that if you tried to just wait it out, you'd be waiting a while. So today we're talking about respiratory infections in pigs. So this is definitely one of them. These two I'm going to discuss today are different, but they are equally as problematic for us here on our farm and for a lot of pig farmers that I know. So lungworms. If you choose not to worm and you go out one day and your pigs are up eating, walking around and everything, but they're just doing this hacking cough, and it's like they need to cough something up, but like a cat with a hairball. They just cough and cough and cough and cough. And then they walk on and they go eat and they act fine, and you're like, what in the world? And then you start to notice a couple others doing it. Most likely, in our experience, it's lungworms. So like I said, we just wormed this batch of pigs. We will worm our pigs soon after weaning, and we have found that to be pretty sufficient. We don't notice any more problems with lungworms. If you choose not to do anything, I am not by any means saying that all your pigs are going to die, but just like with any sickness, even in humans, you know, we're going to talk about pneumonia next, so let's talk about pneumonia. Some people recover from pneumonia with no treatment. Some people need medication with pneumonia. And then I have family members that have needed medications for pneumonia, have sought treatment and help, and still passed away from it. So I am by no means saying that this is a cure-all, or that if you do nothing, you're gonna lose your pigs. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just giving you the facts, and then you can use your own judgment. So we had a couple really coughing last week, and then I wormed them. Pigs are a bit different on worming. You have to do it 3 days in a row, and you need to be consistent. If you do it the first day and forget to do it for a couple days, you probably really need to start over, because they need it 3 consecutive days. So we have had customers that are adamant they do not want any wormers given to the animals they're gonna eat. And then we've had customers that don't want an animal that has worms to be going into their food supply. So you have a couple choices. Find out what your customers want. If you're selling your meat, if you're just raising it for yourself, of course you can do whatever you want. But if you're raising for other people, find out what they want and ask yourself, am I willing to do that? Or in our case, are we going to worm? And if the answer is yes, I just need to be upfront and transparent about that. Same with what we're gonna talk about next, which is pneumonia. You have to figure out what your practices are, and then you need to just communicate those clearly, and you have to be okay with some people disagreeing with you and ultimately some people walking away, because the truth is you have to do what's best as the farmer in your location, in your situation, and you have to be okay with not everyone agreeing with you. One last thing I want to mention is if you choose not to worm, you also do need to realize that your animals probably will not grow out as well. It drags their system down, just like anything that you do, just like what I did. I knew I had something wrong and I chose not to get help for it when I knew I needed to. It will drag you down in other areas, and it does the same to pigs. It drags them down. Therefore, they don't gain weight as efficiently. You're gonna have lower hanging weights, lower return rates on your pigs when you take them to market, as well as they're just gonna have times where they don't feel good. You're probably gonna start to hear that coughing I was talking about, and they probably won't continue to eat as well. And even if they do, when you have worms and parasites, you're just not getting out of the food you do eat what you need to. So Emily is gonna be getting these girls and guys fed behind me, but we're now back here at our pen in the woods. This is a rather large area. This is where they come after we get them good and weaned and trained to a hot wire that has another fence behind it to keep them in while they're testing that hot wire and learning, and it doesn't take them long to learn. So this is where they come after that. We have had a couple back here that I was afraid was getting pneumonia because I couldn't find, especially one of them, I couldn't find them. Like I told you earlier in the video, that's the first clue, is if they don't come up, if they're laid off by themselves and they don't come up with the group. It's called a herd of pigs for a reason. They do travel in a herd. Once they get acclimated to each other, if you bring some in from another farm, they pretty much stick right together. So I had some trouble. I thought, oh no, because at this size, we really don't like to give antibiotics because they are going to be food very soon. Thankfully, we figured out there was nothing wrong with the pig that wouldn't come up back here. She turned out to be deaf. We've had one like that before. That's a whole nother video on how we determined that and what to do about it if you do have a deaf pig. But we have had pneumonia problems before, so let's talk about pneumonia in pigs. It is right up there with worms. It may be the top one we've dealt with. So here's our experience. The first time we got pigs, we had some that would go lay off by themselves, not come up to eat, very lethargic, obviously had fever, and just felt horrible in general. And we called, we researched. We have had the vet come out a few times over the course of having pigs and found out it was pneumonia. Thankfully, we had caught it early. It was a young pig. You can give them a shot of penicillin and that will generally take care of it. There's some other medicines you can give as well. That stay in their system a bit longer to give them, more coverage to get over it. None of the antibiotics that we've ever used here on our farm, most of them last a matter of days. Like some of them are in their system for like a day, maybe 3 days. The most powerful one we have, and it's reserved for the most extreme cases, stays in their system 28 days. Again, trying to be transparent with you guys because there's so much misinformation out there. However, we are very selective on giving antibiotics, and we try to not give antibiotics to animals that are going to be processed for food. I'm not going to say we've never done it because we have, but we ate it. We don't give it to you passing it off as antibiotic free. Antibiotics around here are given in circumstances where they are pretty much the last resort. And pneumonia will kill your pig quickly. So I would just advise, if you choose to wait and your pig has pneumonia, you are taking a big risk. I don't know how else to say that. I've seen it kill several people's pigs in the past. You better act fast because it will take them down quickly. So we actually went and bought some new pigs probably a year and a half ago. Brought them in, they were adults, and we quickly had an outbreak. Now this is one of those times we didn't medicate everyone, and it did turn out good because we couldn't medicate everybody because it swept across every pig on this property. It started where the ones were that we had brought in. They were not sick when we brought them at all, but you can have animals just like with any other sicknesses in, people. Some pigs are carriers of the virus that cause pneumonia, and apparently these must have been because they brought it. It spread to the next pen over, and then to the next pen over. It wound up spreading across our entire farm. It can be airborne, and it can also obviously spread if your pigs are in close quarters like these are, and most of our pigs are. You don't feed pigs individually very often unless you just isolate them. And if you have an individual pig that gets sick with pneumonia, isolating them is an option. But if you have your entire farm sick, you just can't do that. We did medicate the worst ones, which wound up being our boar and a couple of our mama sows. Thankfully, we didn't have to medicate any young ones, and we got through it, but it was a nightmare. Also, things to consider with the lungworms as well as the pneumonia, it will just pull them down. Even if they don't die with it, it will pull them down, and a lot of times they'll die from a secondary infection because they'll get a bacterial infection due to being pulled down from the virus or the worms or whatever the case may be. So just watch them closely. You just have to have a game plan with pigs before the situation arises, really. You need to educate yourself. There's a lot of animals you can learn as you go, that you can just go ahead and get them and you're gonna learn as you go, and they're probably gonna be fine. Pigs are just not one of those animals. Pigs will die on you from these things. Pigs will challenge your fences and get out. I know multiple people who've went and got pigs and they got out the very day, usually within the hour that they brought them home. I know multiple people like that. Some of those people found their pigs. Some of them didn't. Some of them never saw them again, and they just spent money and time in fences. So learn about pigs. That's my #1 advice. No matter what your strategy is gonna be, figure it out in advance, and then be prepared. And if you notice something going wrong, contact someone you can ask immediately. Whether that's calling the nearest hog farmer and asking them, whether it's calling your vet and just seeing if they can help you or recommend something. Whatever the case may be, act quickly. I thank you guys for watching. We're about to finish up this feeding, and then I am taking it easy this week. I'm trying to just feel good and give my body just a rest. I can't not do the work here on this farm. This is my job. These animals are depending on me. But sometimes I do have to take a break from everything else and just give my body a chance to catch back up. So that's what I'm doing this week. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, and thanks for always supporting us. We are also on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok if you're interested in those. I'm gonna put links to those below. We will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, and God bless.